Hi, welcome to SoCal Insider. I'm Rick Reef. The latest blow to the region's jobs picture is a big one. Toyota, largest car maker in the world, is moving its U.S. headquarters from Torrance to Plano, Texas, costing 3,000 jobs and some SoCal prestige. Is this another sign that the Golden State, and especially the Southland, is in economic decline? Or is this an isolated setback in a generally improving jobs picture? Also, Texas Governor Rick Perry tells California businesses they'll be a whole lot happier in the Lone Star State. California Governor Jerry Brown says the Texas swagger is a lot of hype. A panel of experts will discuss. But first, thoughts on the Toyota move from someone with unique perspectives. He's an international trade consultant in Gardena. He sits on the California Commission for Economic Development, and his father was Toyota's first accountant in the U.S. back in 1957. Joining me, Jonathan Kaji. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, tell me, how big a blow is this loss of Toyota?
It's a huge blow in the city of Torrance in the South Bend for Southern California. Looking at all the highly paid, skilled jobs, which will soon disappear and move to Texas, it's going to have a tremendous multiplier effect on the local economy.
These are jobs mostly in finance and sales, kind of back office stuff, but six figures some of these jobs.
That's right. But I think symbolically, since California is the largest market for Toyota in the United States, it just represents a steady pull out of business out of the state.
You have been pretty severe in your criticism of the city of Torrance on this. You've said it's embarrassing, embarrassing failure. Why so?
Going back to when Nissan Motors decided to leave the city of Carson, we had meetings in the South Bay, and at that time, the handwriting was on the wall. Myself and other executives in economic development emphasized to the city officials that they needed to step up their game. And for a company like Toyota, they pay a lot of attention to relationships and also outreach and goodwill.
Now, as you've probably seen, the city has been quoted in the press as saying you really didn't give them much of a heads up. It was kind of a vague warning and that they were just blindsided.
I view that completely differently. Instead, for a company like Toyota, which is a very traditional Japanese company, the decision was made ultimately back in Japan. The company has been in California for close to 60 years now. It first came in to Los Angeles because of proximity to Japan, but also because of an existing Japanese-American community which helped to incubate Toyota and other Japanese companies.
Okay. We did ask the city for comment, and Mayor Frank Scotto said he would like to have been on the show today. He couldn't make it, but the city did give us a statement, and they said that we are very proud that we have enjoyed a healthy, business-friendly relationship with the company for several decades. They said Toyota's been an excellent corporate citizen. They said Torrance is a great place to do business, and the Toyota campus is a gem. And Mayor Frank Scotto said that Torrance is excited about new businesses joining our beautiful Southern California city. So I think they're obviously putting as good a face on it as they can, but they are also, I think, indicating we've got a beautiful campus now here for folks. And in their defense, I mean, there are a lot of Japanese-based businesses in Torrance, right? I mean, in their defense, are they doing something right? I mean, 700 Japanese companies in Southern California, and almost 30% of them are in Torrance, more than in the city of LA or anywhere else.
Once again, I think the viewers need to be reminded that when companies like Toyota and others first came to the U.S. after the Second World War, no one really wanted them. No one knew who they were. It was only 10 years since the end of the war. The only place where they could find a friendly welcome was through the Japanese-American community, which is concentrated here in Southern California. And so looking at a Toyota, which to me sort of represents the largest company in Japan, also the world's largest auto company, it made sense for all these other Japanese companies to congregate in Torrance.
So you were saying more more location than it was some effort by the city.
Yes.
Okay, you serve, as I mentioned earlier, on the California Commission for Economic Development. That's a very impressive sounding thing. How long have you been on the commission?
I was appointed in the waning days of the Schwarzenegger administration.
So 4+ years.
That's correct.
How many times have you met?
There has been only one meeting held, which was held last year in April. Since then, no other meetings.
And that meeting, as I understand, they did not have a quorum, so they could not enact any business.
That's right.
Okay. If I'm Rick Perry in Texas and I hear that, I'm just laughing my head off.
I think for California, we need to be competitive. I would not be critical of the city of Torrance if an effort was made by the city, by the county of Los Angeles, and by the state to try and compete and keep those jobs. I think the state of Texas has done it right.
Okay, now in fairness to, I'm sure that the governor's office would say, we're doing economic development, we're just not doing it with this commission. But why does the state have a commission, it's supposed to have 17 people on it, and it never meets?
All I can do is speak for myself. I've been in economic development now for over 30 years. My family, which is fourth generation here in the state, we know what the value of companies like from Japan, Korea, and elsewhere are to the state. Why the commission has only met once, you'll have to ask the lieutenant governor.
Okay, who oversees the commission?
That's right.
Okay, and by the way, on their website, a press release from the governor, or from the lieutenant governor, misnamed it. They called it the Committee for Economic Development. So they can't even get the name of the thing right on their press releases. Anyway, thanks so much, John, for coming on. It's a showdown at the California Corral. Rick Perry versus Jerry Brown. That's next.
TV can be a child's window to the world. What will they see?
People are looking for more light and less heat. Washington Week viewers are going to get it straight ahead, and that's what they count on us for. When we do these road shows, it not only helps me, but it helps all of our panelists to find out what is really on people's minds. We want to let you know what the information is, and then you decide what you want to think. That's what I think is unique about public broadcasting. There's nothing else like it out there.
And continuing with Toyota, Texas, and California jobs, I'm joined by Orange County Register columnist Joseph Perkins, CEO of the Los Angeles County Business Association BizFed, Tracy Rafter, and Los Angeles Business Journal reporter Howard Fine. Welcome all. Joe, those who are bashing California over Toyota, are they being unduly harsh?
I don't think so. When you lose a company of the stature of Toyota, which has a long legacy here in Southern California, I think that is worthy of being bashed. And it is really a kind of a telltale sign of just how bad the business climate is in this state compared with our rivals like the state of Texas.
Okay, now we did reach out to the governor's office and invited them to send somebody onto the show. They declined, but the governor certainly has made enough statements about this. And as you know, he's saying, he's citing Toyota's official reason that they wanted to consolidate, they wanted to be more centrally located, closer to where their plants are, and that Texas made more sense.
Yes, yes. It was the same thing when Occidental departed. They said, well, Occidental is still going to leave a remnant in Southern California. It's going to be the same thing with the next company from Southern California that departs for Plano or Houston or some other part of Texas.
Okay, Tracy, your group just came out with a study of the economic situation. It was upbeat. Should people take from that things are improving in California?
Well, the interesting thing is that businesses here definitely see the economy coming around. They see potential for their company to grow. They do plan to hire more this year than next year. What was the scary part was it's for California to grab or escort other places, because they cited top 3 very important, serious challenges to them deciding to grow here and hire and expand here or do it elsewhere. Citing taxes and fees as a key burden. And Toyota, for example, said in going to Texas with their 3,000 executive employees, there's no income tax, no personal income tax. They cited rising energy costs over fear of that here in California, and our serious needs for infrastructure to move our goods and people not being affected here and challenged here, where in Texas and other places they're investing and those systems work. So it's a challenge. I mean, so yes, they're going to grow. The world's growing, and our companies are creative. They're going to go get it, but will they do it here or not is a big risk for us.
Of course, in the surveys, Howard, surveys are always showing that, you ask executives, best state for doing business, Texas. Worst state for doing business, it's either California, if it's not Illinois, or Michigan maybe. I mean, it's just, I shouldn't say Michigan, but anyways, Illinois is in there, maybe New York, I don't know. But, California just has this terrible reputation, and then Texas is giving them $40 million. Right? I mean, isn't that the tax incentives that Texas is giving Toyota to move? How do you compete with that?
Well, it's difficult. California is a high-cost state to do business, and it's not just the taxes and the fees that are underlying high costs that are probably even more important, the cost of land, the cost of labor. It's difficult, but California does have some strengths, and those include that we are good at startups and incubating businesses. The problem that California has had over the last 30 years is that once businesses grow to a certain size, they decide to expand outside the state. That is something that is a huge problem for California. You don't see that many businesses actually picking up their entire operation and moving.
But now we are. But now we are.
You see some,
yeah,
and there have been. I mean, there's been a steady drumbeat of large corporations that have left Southern California over the last 30 years. So it's not a new phenomenon, but it's very easy to focus on a handful of these large companies that move out, and we're sort of missing the small and mid-sized companies that decide, okay, well, I'm going to keep my headquarters here, but I'm going to put a new plant in the South or in Texas.
But it seems now, like even now, we are finally seeing the companies picking up. You broke the story, Howard, on Occidental Petroleum leaving a few months back. And it just seems, Joe, it seems like suddenly now Toyota does have some people concerned, that, whoa, it's one thing, the invisible jobs, the expansions that don't happen here, that's kind of an invisible job loss. But you're moving an icon.
Right. Well, California is, as they say on Wall Street, in play now. And it's not just Texas that is actively recruiting companies here in California. There's New York State, there's Oregon, there's Virginia, there's Florida. All of those states are poaching or looking to poach California companies. Southern California is a ripe target because of not only state regulations, taxes, fees, and other sorts of things that raise the cost of doing business, but the entire state is. And I think that Toyota's move represents a tipping point in terms of the exodus from California by major corporations.
Okay, and Tracy, of course, the most notable person coming into California saying, come on down, is Rick Perry. And we've got this battle. Who's winning this PR battle between Rick Perry and Jerry Brown?
Well, it's an important thing. Branding is important, and when you're open for business, there's some sense that there's a desire to have you and your jobs and your expansion. You're going to have help through the process. That does matter. And like Joe was just saying, it's not only Rick Perry, but when we hear Louisiana and Nevada and all the other states, and they're winning. They're just coming in. As Howard was saying too, what you don't see are all the supply chain companies. When Toyota moves, there's hundreds and maybe thousands of small and mid-sized supply chain companies that assist Oxy and that serve all these other companies. That now what do? And how do they pick up and move? And they have to cut, and their companies then are reduced as well. So
Howard, the governor, in response, has, of course, cited the improving job climate in the state, and he also just unveiled an economic incentive plan. Tell us about that.
Yes, well, this incentive plan is really, it's to replace a program actually that he put on the chopping block, and that was the Enterprise Zone program, which was one of the few tools the state had to dole out tax credits to promote companies adding jobs here in the state. So he's come up with a new program called California Competes that will do the same thing, but there will be tighter controls on it, and it won't be quite as big and quite as generous.
How big is it?
Well, I think that's still being spelled out at this point. There's going to be a pool of money, and then the companies are going to have to compete for that a little bit. So it's not just the state deciding to dole out tax dollars.
But in this budget, it's something like $180 million total if 100% of it were maxed out and utilized. And Toyota, as you said, just got $42 million, one company to one town. And the entire state of California's Competes Fund, I think, in this budget year, is something like that. If everything went right and every company that applied, a deal got done, is $180 million.
Right. It doesn't compare to the Texas Enterprise Fund. And another thing that's important to note is that, first of all, this program was approved by the legislature last summer. And since then, we've seen companies depart from California to Texas. Another thing is that Rick Perry said, this isn't what gets the companies here. That's the deal closer, those incentives that they offer. It's the business climate in the state of Texas that's the main lure, and that is what we have to work on here in Southern California.
Yeah, Tracy, what do you think about that? You do these incentive programs, they're very targeted, and there's winners and losers. Is there any movement, do you see any possibility the state might say, let's lower a corporate tax rate or something
Well,
like that?
for example, former Assembly Speaker Bob Hertzberg's running for Senate to get back into state government. And he is a part of Think Long and California Forward that are working on major tax overhaul in the state. And Think Long folks think we should seriously reduce or eliminate the personal income tax, eliminate the corporate tax. The cities like LA City
And what
still
chance does that have in the state
tax.
legislature?
So what has happened though, has progressed, is those same thinkers got open primaries done, got redistricting done by the people. So some important change to get a different body of more moderate elected so that then we can go. So we are progressing, and I think that then those are possible. I mean, we do need tax reform. California built its tax system in a different age, right? When our base was different, our revenue base was different from the kinds of companies and employers we had and how we were building and growing and investing. It's archaic, right? And so we now need to respond to California still being the creative capital of the world, right? And just the way our engine works on services companies versus manufacturing companies, even though manufacturing is still alive and well here, and if we manage and keep our energy costs under control, we can have a resurgence of manufacturing here if we take and harness it. That's why I said there's optimism. It's ours to grab or just escort it out to those that are stepping up to get it.
Well, now that you sounded a bit of a high note, let me ask Howard, just to keep that going for a moment, you just wrote a story about Carson's efforts to replace Nissan. And tell us what you found.
Yes, well, we took a look 6 years after Nissan left, and what we found is that there were about 1,300 jobs Nissan had on the campus in Carson, and somewhere around 700 of those jobs have been replaced by a whole variety of firms. You have a tire marketer and distributor. Kaiser Permanente has a facility on the site. Oftentimes on these kinds of transitions, you see that you go from like high-paying, good high-paying jobs to minimum wage retail jobs. Well, that's definitely not the case here. The job pay scales would seem to be fairly comparable to what Toyota had. This process is not complete. There's still more room for expansion. And I think the folks at Torrance are looking at this and saying, yeah, we have a site here There's tremendous demand for industrial and marketing space. And so they're hoping that they can fill this space relatively quickly, but the initial decisions in that process will be made by Toyota because Toyota owns the land. But once Toyota moves out and sells the land, then it'll be up to the city to try and bring some people in.
Joe, you write for that libertarian paper. Let's give Jerry Brown's argument here that California has high value jobs, and that this is the Silicon Valley. This is where ideas develop, and why should California give the store away? I mean, what's this? Why buy off these companies at $40 million or so? Just let the natural course. Are you for all these corporate subsidies?
I absolutely am. I would just say that I would call them incentives. But what I would say is this: provide those incentives, provide those subsidies to all corporations. Don't just prefer certain industries. I mean, this governor and the mayor of Los Angeles is supporting tax subsidy to the film industry. And I say rightfully so, because you're competing with other states. But do the same thing for other industries as well. Don't prefer one industry over another. We tend to prefer those industries that are politically correct, economically correct, green industries and the like. And we don't care that accidental left. Some were even saying, wonderful, they don't need to be here anymore. And I have a problem with that. And replacing those jobs that, say, for instance, left Nissan, well, they're not being replaced by comparable jobs, I don't believe. And moreover, those jobs could have been created in addition to what Nissan already had there. And so we have to have a strategy of competing with the other states around the country. Let's follow what New York State said. No taxes for 10 years. Do that, and let's see what kind of economic multiplier we get from that here in Southern California.
Tracy, another drama going on. Tesla is talking about building a battery plant. They were going to go out of California to do it. Now they kind of said maybe California is in the second tier. What's going on there?
Well, that's an example of the whole battery storage issue. California is trying to lead the way. They've laid down the gauntlet and say they want to provide for more battery storage development in California than the rest of the nation has in total right now. But now here's the devil in the details. They got to open the doors. There's all this private sector money and companies that would gladly come in and build or retrofit for battery storage, so renewables can be a bigger part of our energy sector. But you have to open the door and you have to let them permit and you have to have them bid and get the cycle going. And so it's like we say we want things and then we put up all these roadblocks and hurdles to jump through. And if we would just follow through, we set great goals for ourselves. Then what we have to do is pave the way to achieve the goals versus put landmines in front of
I suspect Elon Musk said what he said just to make California feel a little better. I don't think the plant's going to land in the state. But anyway, thank you very much. You guys were really good. Thanks a lot. You know your stuff. You can watch this show and past shows at rickreef.com. Segments of the show can also be viewed at pbssocal.org. My guests have been John Kaji, Joe Perkins, Tracy Rafter, and Howard Fine. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again on SoCal Insider.
SoCal Insider with Rick Reef is brought to you by the following. 5 Point Communities is a proud sponsor of PBS SoCal. 5 Point Communities is an independent real estate development company with assets under management across California. More information available at www.5pointcommunities.com. Snell & Wilmer is a full-service business law firm with more than 400 attorneys in Orange County, Los Angeles, and throughout the West. On the web at swlaw.com. Snell & Wilmer. Straight talk, sound counsel. Practical solutions.
Relief Pod's latest generation of safety kits now go everywhere you go. Relief Pod's organized, color-coded, and compact safety kits keep first aid and emergency items accessible for a safe lifestyle every day. Relief Pod. Live ready.
A healthy future for you, your family, and your business is why Memorial Care Health System transformed healthcare. Our hospitals, physicians, and outpatient centers keep patients healthy and care for them when they're not. Memorial Care, one healthcare system leading the way.
There's no room for failure in the aerospace industry. That's why we still manufacture here in America. We produce parts for the most sophisticated machines known to man. City National is the way up for our business.